All right. Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the weekly newbie coaching calls with me. I'm your host, Amir Khan. I do these calls every week. They are exactly 40 minutes in duration. The format is some weeks I have a topic and I do a slide presentation and then take two questions at the end. And some weeks we have guests. And today we have a guest. It's Tam Nguyen. Did I pronounce your last name right, Tam? Okay. All right. And Tam is a relatively new student in our Freedom Accelerator program. And she's bought her first, or maybe more, I don't know yet. We'll find out in a moment. SlowFlips. And I think, in my experience, learning from somebody who is a little bit ahead of you is is somehow it resonates with people much more than somebody who has 50 homes or 60 homes or 200 homes. It's a little bit hard. They're in a different level. They're scaling, so they have different problems. They have different challenges. But somebody who's one or two steps maybe ahead of you, it's a lot easier to identify with what frustrations and challenges they faced and how they overcome it. And so that's why I'm going to be inviting lots of newbies who just bought their first slow flip, and hopefully we will all learn from this experience. All right. So having said that, Tam, go ahead and unmute your mic.
I am here.
How
Hi,
are you, Tam?
everybody.
Nice to see you. Thank you for taking time to doing this. I
Oh,
know
thank you.
some people are just they're shy, sometimes they're afraid. I mean, that's why I sent you those questions ahead of time so you have an idea. We're not going to be talking about anything complicated, just, basic stuff, right? All
Yeah.
right. So let's just start with when did you join the Freedom Accelerator program so everybody can have an idea how fresh you are?
Yeah. Really, really new, really green. I joined kind of close to the end of May. So it's about what,
This
5
year?
months? Yeah, this year.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And why did you join the Freedom Accelerator program?
Well, I was looking at like real estate investment for a little while, and I don't want to be a landlord in a sense, like dealing with all of the headaches, maintenance, and this and that. Like, so I feel like this is the better way to go, and the way that it kind of makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel at first when I was reading into the program, I thought that it is kind of more hands off than hands on.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I joined. But then it kind of I found out it's not exactly hands off. So you don't have to deal with like daily thing with tenant, but you still have to do, quite a bit there.
Okay,
Dealing,
so
yeah.
sorry. So that brings us to what is your background so we can understand what is your experience in real estate so we can have an idea where you're coming from.
Yeah. So I had zero knowledge, zero experience beside like buying my own house. That's it. So when I started, I went through the material, and it's pretty like straightforward, going through all of that. But then I start like getting on the forum and listening, or like reading people post and the answer, and I freaked out. Like in about a month, I was like, oh my God, I don't have a clue what they were talking about. It was way over my head. But then Tom, I hope you hear. Hi, Tom. Anyway, Tom kind of encouraged me and said that maybe I should join your coaching program, and you just barely starting. I think I was probably like the first one. I joined at the first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then and it really helped because it kind of lay it out in a lot more like basic, step by step. Where do you start? That kind of thing. There was so much material when you're reading through them. It's kind of confusing. And then especially when you get on the forum and people just talking about this and that, and you start reading, you're gonna get like so confused, so much more confused.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell us, whatever, if you want to share, what is, do you have a W-2 job, or so we
Yeah.
understand how much? Okay.
Yeah, I am a dentist actually. I'm still practicing. Um, and I have my own practice, but I am kind of having a little, not a little, like a medical issue that I'm thinking I may not be able to practice long hour like what I am doing right now. In the future, I may have to cut back or stop completely. So that's why I'm looking into doing all of this, to help kind of, supplement the income.
Okay, all right. Well, this is very important. Thank you for sharing that, because
Okay.
a lot of these things are our motivation on why we're doing this. And sometimes the more urgent that motivation is, the more, effort we're going to put into
Right.
doing this slow flip system, and be successful in that. So let's talk about this, because this is important, and that's one of the reasons why I started these calls, is because I remember me also joining as a
Hmm.
newbie. I've been in the program for just over a year now, but I had substantial real estate experience. So, after I joined, I completed the course. When I went on the forum, I was watching other newbies on the forum as well. And some of the things you said actually made a lot of sense. That's exactly the reason why I started these calls,
Yeah.
was because I thought, well, look, I have so much experience. And when I go and I look at these forums and I interact in these weekly classes, coaching with Scott, I mean, I understand all of it. But I was thinking, well, what about these newbies? I think they're going to be having a lot of problems with this, because even though the
Exactly.
course itself is very straightforward, it is laid out well, but once you actually start doing it, the first problem is,
Hmm.
well, where do I start? What is
Yeah.
actually step one? What is actually step
Exactly.
two? And there's a
Exactly.
lot of noise, what we call, there's so much information coming in that it confuses you. And there's a principle in business, and also project management, is that if you have too many things to do, you are going to be confused. And when you're going to be confused, you're probably not even going to take step one, right? And okay, so that's great. So now let's talk about, and this is the most important part of the interview, is when you joined the Freedom Accelerator program, what were your biggest challenges?
Hmm. Um, Actually, fear of the unknown, because I have no experience. I was reading stuff, but then I'm like, it sounds pretty straightforward. Is that gonna be that straightforward? And then like, where do I start? They just keep saying, uh, and Scott was like, look at 100 properties, and I'm like, what am I looking at, or
Mm,
what am I supposed to be um, saying, okay, that is a good one, and versus this is not a good one. What are the criterias? And it's so general. It's like livable. What is livable? That what like to somebody livable could be A, but then somebody else could be B. So it was kind of confusing at that too. But I just kept looking at it, and what I found out was I went on Zillow. I don't know where else, so I went on Zillow and I put in a couple of criteria like the pricing, but they don't let you do anything less than 50, I think. So I have to kind of max it at 50, um, and then I start looking, and what I found out was like anything that is 30 or below, basically it's like, sorry, but it's like trash. You have to be like kind of demo the whole thing. So I got a little discouraged because I'm like, man, they say that, 30 or so, and then look at what I'm looking at. It's like nothing that I feel like, somebody can live in. And then I kind of start having an idea. And then I was like looking into more in the 40 range, 40, 50 range. And then I start seeing a few things.
Mm.
Okay, and also when I joined a coaching session with you, you were saying something as to, look at all the major things like, electrical panel, roof, furnace, that kind of thing. Those are like the main item. And if those are like working and you don't really have to fix them, then that's good. They're like cosmetic wise, it's not going to be so much of an issue. So kind of, from there and looking from on Zillow and then following your advice. And I kind of finally, I think after about a month or 6 weeks, I kind of have an idea, okay, um, this is considered livable versus the others, like that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That was excellent. All right, so we're going to stay on that issue about if you were to name three things that were stopping you from buying your first slow flip, what would they be? Now, obviously, you have to step back and remember that point, right?
Yeah. Um, First thing is kind of scary to be like making an offer because you're talking, like money, like real money here. You're not like talking like a few thousand,
Yeah.
30 grand, 40 grand, like that. And the second thing would be, how should I say, is that, gonna be an okay property, like you look at it and you have somebody, go and check it, but I don't know. Um, I don't know. And third one is still kind of fear for me.
Mhm.
Am I doing it right? Am I going to be making a big mistake here? And pretty much going to have to deal with it or pay for it in the long run.
Okay. All right. So next question is, now let's talk about your first slow flip. So would you share with us how did you find it? Uh, how did you fund it? And share some numbers so we have an idea.
Okay. So I found this, my first one on Zillow too. Um, it was an 1,800 square foot home, 4 bedroom and 1 bath. And it's in Toledo, Ohio. Again, thanks to you, and you were like kind of people were asking like what markets, and you name a few, and I'm like, okay, let me just look into it. So that's what I found, and so I contacted a listing agent. I think it was listed at 40, 40 and some change. And I contacted the listing agent, and I talked to the uh, boot on the ground and kind of coordinate for the time for him to come out and take a look. And then he called me back and say this one is a good house. And I'm like, well, but it's in the 40 range. I don't know if I I can get it for them to be like selling me at the 30 grand.
Hmm.
He said, well, yeah, well, you have to try. So I went back and I told the listing agent, I put in an offer. I say, well, I can do 29, I think 29 and 500, 29K 500. And it'll be cash offer. And I can close in 2 weeks like that. Try to make it like it's so easy, Um, and sure enough, he came back like in 2 hours. He said, well, they want it, they interested because it's cash. But he wanted, I think they gave me the counter offer of probably like 36 or so, 36. Um, and I thought about it I'm like, okay, let me think about it. I have to tell my people to work up the number, see whether we can do anything better than 29. And I called them back in about 2 hours. I'm like, well, I think the max I can go with 31. So after like in that afternoon, I think he called back and he said, okay, yeah, you got it. And then we'll just get the paperwork done. And I have some money saved up, so I funded with
When is your class over? 7:30.
Okay, all right. Can you please keep your mics muted, everyone? Okay, so all right, so that was your first, and who, so you self-funded it, you found it on Zillow,
Mhm.
and how did you do the inspection? Like, since you're not in Toledo, right?
No, I'm not. I'm in Texas. So actually, that boot on the ground was also I asked you about that, and then you told me about that service, and I contacted him and pretty much just kind of talked to him before I even like find something. I was like talking to him and say, hey, so what is the whole process like? How do you do it and that kind of thing? And what is your fee? What is your timeline? Like if I have something for you to come look at, can you come look at it pretty quick? And so we talk about all of that ahead of time, even before I found this. And so once I found it, I got him, and he was pretty fast, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
He very good. Like he
Paul?
knows what he's doing. Yeah, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the only guy I use. But see, that's the other thing is that it's not just, I guess some newbies get stuck with, well, before I start, I need to have everybody on team before I even do this. And that's not necessary. You don't, need to have an attorney on your team, a real estate agent.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you will never get started. You will never get your team on board. I mean, the team is there. If people are buying in these markets, they're already boots on the ground. Just ask people, they'll share that information with you,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so wonderful. So our next question was about filling. So you want to give us some
Mhm.
more details about, I mean, I think everybody now they understand how filling works, but just
Yeah.
for those who don't understand how an outside or a third party will fill for you, can you just explain that, please?
Yeah. So Paul also filled the property for me. And so basically, what I did was like once we agree on the sale price and everything, and then we got a closing date, and I'll just contact Paul and say, hey, you can just come by that place, whatever the title company is, and you meet up with the listing agent, and then pick up the key from there, pretty much. So yes, he did, and then he started like marketing it right away. It took I would say about a month. So we had put it out as sale price at 89.9, 5,000 down, and like about 1,100 a month. So he was doing that, and then and I think about a month later, so we closed on the end of August, and the beginning of October. When he called me, he said, "Well, I found this couple, and they seem like they're serious and stuff, but they only have like 4,000." And I told them that they need another 1,100 for the October payment. So that's pretty much about like 5,000 or so. And I'm like, well, let's do it because like another 1,000, it may be a little bit too much for them, and then we could drag it out for like another few months. And if they're really serious, they like the house, and let's just go for it. So then that's what we did, and they moved right in. It's like a couple days later, like
That's
October or
wonderful.
something. Yeah.
Sounds like a amazing house. 1,800 square feet, right? That's a big
Yeah,
house. It's a big house.
it's pretty big.
4 bedrooms?
4 bedroom.
Wonderful. So you see the first thing that you did right there, that's a very, very good decision. Some newbies, they just, just go with the flow and they will go with the smallest house. So it's a fact out there, no matter what city you're in, the number of
Mhm.
bedrooms will obviously get you more money, right? Because the
Right.
number,
Well, and actually, and again, because I'm just like, I don't know what I am doing seriously. So when I saw the house, I texted Paul. I'm like, hey, Paul, I found this one. This is how much, the square footage, like all of that description. I'm like, do you think that you're going to be able to fill this one? Because I see everybody's doing
Mhm.
like 2, 3 bedroom and like 1,000, square feet. This one is like 1,800 square feet. It's huge. He's like, yes, get it. So I'm like,
Well,
okay.
because see, they are on the ground and people are asking them all the time, hey, do you
Yeah,
have something larger? Do you have 4 bedrooms? Because they
yeah,
have families and all that.
right.
So the boots on, if you have good boots on the ground, they're always going to be helpful. Now, do you want to mind sharing with them that Paul, if anybody, by the way, wants Paul's contact information, you can directly contact Tam or you can contact me. He helps me
Sure.
also. Uh, he works a little bit different, right? So I'm not sure if he worked with you in that terms. The way he works with me is he does ask that I work with him exclusively for the first month. What that
Yes.
means is this.
Yeah,
Most
he
fillers,
did.
by the way, somebody asked a question about fillers. So again,
Mm,
just to give you an idea of in the slow flip process, the first thing is you're looking for a home, you're buying the home. Once you buy the home, the second part of the process is you have to fill it, which means you have to place a tenant buyer in the house, right?
yeah,
You can do it yourself. The program actually teaches you how to do that. But it is a lot of work, and you do have to spend a lot of time because not only do you have to advertise it, you have to actually take calls from people, and then you have to schedule them. And even
right.
if you do that, then somebody's interested, you actually have to figure out a way to meet with them or have someone meet them and sign the paper. So it's a lot of
Right.
work. So some people, I'm not saying all, but a lot of people use third party. And these,
Mm,
when I say party, they are either themselves members of the Slow Flip program or they are people who are in the industry. So Paul is one of them. The reason why I like Paul, he works slightly differently. Most fillers will work this way. They will show the property and they will take 50% if they fill the property. And
mhm.
most fillers have no problem if you're marketing it simultaneously with several fillers. But Paul works differently because Paul is in my opinion, he's really good. He says I need to be working exclusively. So I let him exclusively market it. I don't
Right.
give it to anybody else for the first month. If he says, hey, look, if I
Yeah.
cannot fill it in the first month, then you can give it to other people and I have no problem with that.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify that, but most
Right.
fillers will work simultaneously with other fillers. In other words, 10 people are trying to market that
Right.
property for you. Whoever fills it gets the down payment, and then the others then remove the listing, right? Okay, so the next thing is, can you tell us the numbers again? How much did you end up getting as down payment, and what's the monthly are you getting on it, and what was the final price?
So the sale price is 18, actually was 89.9, but because we reduced the down payment from 5 grand to 4, so I just took the total sale price down to like 88.9.
Uh-huh.
So that way we keep the monthly payment the same, at 1,100 or like 1,095. So,
Okay, wonderful. So now that it is filled and it's
yeah.
producing income, what are your lessons learned from buying and filling your first slow flip?
First of all, you have to be really quick. Like when you calling the listing agent, or if you saw something, you call and or you text, and if they don't answer, you got to follow up. The first few months, I would just like, I text them and they don't answer. I'm like, okay, forget it. I'm gonna move on to the next one. And then I found out that it's like they don't ever like answer the first time at all. Like those listing agents, for some reason, you found like very few of them who does that. So I ended up like, text them first and give them like a day. And if I don't see any response, and I call them and I left message and I follow up. It's like you got to do all of that. And also like when they try to call you back, and give them all your info, like the phone number, email, like everything that, like they can just contact you, so easy. But the key thing I found is like you got to follow up. And then sometimes there's some properties it's like it's listed and then they say, oh, under contract. And then a few weeks later it came back on the market with a lower price. So then you just have to kind of, keep an eye on it. That's how I felt.
Okay, wonderful. So, what are your slow flip goals? Do you have one right now, or do you
Yeah.
have? Okay.
So I am actually just got like an assignment on another one. We haven't closed yet. Don't know because they're still doing a title search on that.
So clarify for everyone, you are buying a property from someone from the community?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually the same Eric from Paul Group, like the same people.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
that just happened that yesterday or Wednesday.
Okay.
Wednesday or Tuesday. So yeah, so I just signed a like I'm agreed to buy this property from you or whatever, and we're just waiting on the closing.
Okay, wonderful. Good. And sometimes, you know what? One opening opens another opportunity, like Eric and Paul, they're basically partners, so they work with each other. And by the way, Eric has been, he joined just before me, so he's also a great guy. I haven't worked with him directly, but he's the one who introduced me to Paul. So, great. And anybody wants Paul's information, please DM me on or DM Tam on school. So finally, our final question is, anything else you like to share with the audience? I think I at least saw one message saying that somebody is brand new. So if somebody is new, what would be your message to them? Because they're all experience the same thing that you experienced.
Right. So I think like the steps that you outlined at the first few sessions of your coaching, like you get your LLC set up, and you want to decide what market do you want to be in, and do some research on that. I mean, like really looking into the laws and all of that, like requirements, restriction, whatever that they have for that, and looking into, what kind of interest, you can do in certain that area. And just set it up on Zillow. I think that would be the easiest way, or some other like realtor.com. They do have that too, that you can just set it up like once you pick out an area that you want to be in, you just set the list and like the maximum price on that, and it'll like send you message, like whenever there's a property that comes on. And that's how I found them pretty much.
Okay, great. All right, so we are now going to open up for questions. So I see one hand raised. Patrick, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Tam, for sharing. One quick question: what has been your experience in Lido market? Experience with the tenant so far? Could you share with us? Thank you.
Okay. Well, my first one, actually, I just got a notice that I set it up on Inago to do the payment and all of that, and the payment, the first payment, that the actual payment that they made, that was for November, this November right here. It's got rejected because they don't have enough funds. So I'm like, okay. Let's see how this is gonna go. So I'm wondering. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like like you dealing with this price range of property, you're gonna be having tenant that is going to be late and having like issue with like payments. And I mean, I don't feel like it's just Toledo. I feel like it's pretty much everywhere. Like you can see like Joey, 190 property, and he got like almost 100 of them late.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So I mean, it's just the way it is. And I think it probably for regular rental is the same way too. I mean, people are just people, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Shannon, go ahead.
Hi, I wanted to ask you, did you join all those things or set all those things up, like My Deal Factory? That's a phone system. I think you can set a website up in there too, and it tells you to make a website, and then you're supposed to make a YouTube channel. That was just all confusing for me. I really don't understand why you need all that, I guess. So,
I did not do any of that. First of all, because to be honest, you have to maintain them. Okay? When you do a YouTube channel, you have to have new content. You can't just be like leaving it up in there, like old stuff or like nothing. It just doesn't look right. And I feel like I just don't have the time or the expertise to do any of that. I'm not like a person. I can't be like in front of camera and be like talking and acting. I can't do that. So I was just like, no, I don't feel like I can do that. And also website, I didn't even like set that up either. What I did do is like I did set up my LLC and I did find like try to get a logo, because when you are sending letters and stuff to tenant, then you need to have something that kind of look like it's official. You know, it's like from a company. It's not like some random person doing random stuff.
like a domain, is that what you set up?
No, like a logo. You
Oh,
get a
just a
logo. Like
logo.
you have a name for your LLC, and then I just like went online and I find like some cheap place, make it for like 40, 50 bucks or something.
Okay.
So, or like you design it yourself, something like that, and you just
And then you just communicate back and forth with your own phone. You didn't.
no, you know, so this is Amir too. Like a lot of this, what I learned is from Amir. So he told me about an app. It calls Live Phone, that you can get it. It's sit on your own phone, and you can use that to call or text. Yeah, the only thing is that sometimes it doesn't take like picture very well. Like you can't, you know, get pictures. So I just told him like just send it to my email.
Okay,
I'll
and
type it in the chat if you
Live Phone.
Live Phone. Let me type it in.
Sly, SLY,
Oh,
FHONE. Yeah.
okay.
And yeah, it's pretty you know, decent. It's like a few bucks a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that My Deal Factory is pretty expensive. Just to start out with. So
When I first got in, I looked at that and I looked at, you know, I talked to the prime people too about you know, the LLC, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like it's just like thousands of dollars, and I'm like, so no, I didn't do any of that.
okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next is Kari.
Hello, this is Kari and Carlita. We've been in for about three weeks now. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate this, Tam. Thank you. I know we have a few minutes. So Tam, I want to know 31,000. What was the closing cost? What was the funds over and above that?
So actually, because I don't know if you guys are aware, but like since August, they have a law now that if any realtor that show you a property, you have to be either you have to be in contract with them, or like you have to have a realtor that come. They're just not going to show you the property without anybody represent you. So I actually use that listing agent as my, you know, like a buyer agent also. He charged like 2,500, but because the buyer pay around 1,000, so I ended up paying him 1,500, and the closing cost probably around 1,000 or under. So total for everything is like around 33,400 or something.
So you're able to negotiate the realtor's fee?
I would, yeah, I'm trying to talk to him, but I mean, you know, I only have to pay like 1,500 because and after that, I was like talking to a bunch of other realtor, and it ranged from 1,500 to about 3,000 per, transaction.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Next is, again, I don't know if that's your name, Samasi?
It's C for Charlie, Massey.
Okay. Charlie, go ahead.
How you doing? And thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Sure, go ahead.
So my son / business partner and I, we started probably 3 months ago. Love it. I'm got 31 years of experience on the finance end of real estate.
Okay.
And we're just about to hopefully try to make our first offer on our first slow flip. But the property, which I think is really good, is coming from what I think is a wholesaler in our group, right? And so my first question, and I had somebody answer me this earlier this afternoon. First question is, when you're dealing with a wholesaler on this, normally if I was going to be purchasing a piece of real estate, I would want to make an offer. And, in my market here in Connecticut, you don't make lowball offers. You got to make at list or above list price, sometimes way over. But I feel like in a normal market, and I'm not sure if Indiana is a normal market, slow flip property like this is definitely not a normal sale. Is it something that you would negotiate with the wholesaler? For instance, if it was a $30,000 property, would you go in and say, listen, I want to make an offer of 22? What's your opinion of going in with making a lower offer with a wholesaler versus an individual or listed property?
I mean, you can negotiate, you can offer, because I feel like that is, nobody gonna say you can't do that or whatever, you can say, you can offer however you like, but usually in my experience, I have known some wholesaler too, and they have to kind of make some profit in there. So if
Oh, of course.
so you negotiate, and if they can sell it to you at that price, they'll do it. If not, they would say no. Like the one that I bought, and I kind of asked him like if he can do any better than that, and he's like, yeah, I only make like a very tight margin right here, so that's the price. That's it. And then whether you take it or not, that's up to you.
Yeah, Michael, I'll add to that absolutely you can offer, and just like Tam said, that they'll let you know themselves, hey, look, I've got it under contract for X amount. I just need to make at least this much, and most of the time it'll work. But everything is negotiable. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so I know you have some other questions. You can DM me or you can DM Tam directly. Thank you guys very much. Take care. We'll see you next week.